So you wanna run an epic game, but these stat blocks all look so lame. Well, there's no need to panic. It's monsters and mechanics. Sup, Punions? Chris Punking here, presenting Monsters and Mechanics. I look at monsters, I spice them up with dope mechanics to make them cooler to run and cooler to fight against. Today's episode, Tiny Critters, Giants, and Dragons. Tiny critters can crawl all over you, and I want to simulate that with mechanics. Introducing the Pounce action. Pouncing is kinda like grappling, but with fundamental differences. For starters, a creature may only pounce on someone at least one category larger than them. It requires an acrobatics check contested by the target's acrobatics or athletics check. Should the tiny critter succeed, it is now attached to its target, whom I will be referring to as the host. Like a scorpion skittering along your arm. The critter now shares the space of the host. If the host moves, the critter moves along with it, essentially riding it. Our critter has now advantage on attack rolls against the host, and additionally, any attack that would hit it now needs to be re-rolled. Should the new roll cause the attack to miss, the tiny critter moves too quickly and the attack hits the host instead, though you may allow the attacker to deal minimal damage or treat the hit as though made with an offhand attack. Since you will be using tiny critters mostly at low levels, you don't want your first level characters to kill each other. The host can use their action to make an acrobatics check, contested by the tiny critter's acrobatics check, in order to throw them off. But you know how there are certain creatures that automatically grapple you when they hit with an attack? Yeah, we will let our tiny critter do the same thing, except they will be able to pounce on you. Give this ability to cats, snakes, scorpion spiders, xenomorph lavas from aliens, or particularly nefarious goblins. Or that chicken from Despicable Me 2. Or to swarms. Moving on from tiny critters to the exact opposite? Giants. Ah yes, giants, the most boring creatures in the game, stat block-wise. So how do we spice them up? Well, one thing that I do ever since the Rune Knight came out is I just give the giants the respective rune abilities. Each rune is associated with one type of giant, so that works rather well to distinguish them from one another. But that is not exactly why I'm here today. For you see, the thing that giants should do is be earth-shaking colossi on the battlefield, whose swings decimate armies and whose booming steps tell of their arrival long before you see their massive forms loom over the horizon. They squash enemies under their feet and in their grips like mice. So I have 3 new abilities for them. Smash. Instead of just hitting one enemy with their tree-sized club, my giants will either hit creatures in a 10-foot square, or each creature in a 15-foot line. Any creatures in the area, regardless of whether they hit or not, must also make a strength save or go prone because of the shockwave this massive attack deals. Letting monsters do things even when they miss makes them more menacing, I think. Stomp. As a bonus action, a giant can bury a creature under his foot, although the target needs to be prone for that. They make an attack, and on a hit, they have grappled the target as they literally stand on them. They can only have one target grappled like this, but they can also not attack them anymore, except by stomping them, because their foot is in the way. Grab. As an alternative bonus action, the giant can make a grapple attempt against a creature, at least 2 size categories smaller than them. The giant may use the grappled creature in place of a rock to throw for their rock throw attack. Throwing a creature like this does end the grapple, but they will also take the rock throw damage, even if the giant misses with the throw. Take note of the synergy between their stomp and their smash features. One knocks prone and the other requires a prone target. It's a mini combo. And even if no one gets knocked prone or the giant's already stomping someone, they can always use their grab as an alternative. That way they can always use a bonus action on their turn. Moving on from giants to the crown jewel of D&D monster design, here is my take on one of the Ds in D&D. Dragons. Massive forms protected by nigh impenetrable scales. But every so often, a dragon's scales have an opening where they are vulnerable. But how do we make tough scales into mechanics? Just make the dragon harder to hit by increasing the armor class? No, because missing isn't fun. I want players to feel like they're making progress. So I decided to give the dragon's armor class hit points. Okay, hear me out. Increase the dragon's armor class by 5. So if you take an ancient green dragon with a 21 armor class, you give them a new armor class of 26. However, if your players hit the dragon in the range between 21 and the new armor class 26, they deal damage to its scales instead. Their attacks are not powerful to pierce the scales and damage the dragon itself, but they can damage the armor. Every point of AC the dragon has gained has 50 hit points. After some time, the players will roll enough 21s, 22s, 23s, 24s, and 25s and deal 50 or more damage to the dragon's scales. The dragon's armor class is then reduced by 1. Also, an opening is created in its armor. Players may choose to take a -5 penalty to their attack before they roll to do a called shot. If they hit, their attack will deal double damage, and the weakness is exploited and can't be targeted again. But after 50 more damage to the scales, the dragon loses another point of armor class, and another opening is revealed. So even if players miss the increased armor class, they still feel like they're making progress by slowly reducing the armor class over time, and they also still get to roll damage, which feels awesome. So, is this a buff to dragons or a nerf? I'll leave that up for you to decide in the comments. Also, I really don't like legendary resistances that much, because they often have no narrative or really mechanical weight. Nothing happens when they are used, it's just a thing players have to whittle through, but I like if there's a bit of a cost for using them. Consider that the dragon takes 25 points of damage to its armor whenever he uses the legendary resistances, and once his armor is gone, he may no longer be able to use them at all. That way there's a cost associated with it, and players feel good for draining a legendary resistance. Guys, I've gotta be real with you. My outro has finally arrived. Check it out, man. Look at this beauty. The way the sunlight reflects off of... Oh, I'm just realizing I don't have a camera, so you can't actually see my dope-ass outro that I bought. God damn it.